Good morning. How's it going? All are welcome. I hope you know that. I hope you know that all are welcome. Many of the people in our group are gifted with perhaps physiological aberrations that make them see things that other people don't see. These aberrations lead people to fight with each other, but they're not enemies. Hey, Pete. How's it going?
Just enjoying the introduction.
I was plugging in my microphone, testing it out. How'd it sound?
Very, what's the word for it? Like podcasty, I guess. Not in a bad way. Just
Podcast. Yeah. Oh, wicked. Uh, mm, I got a USB-C to XLR.
yeah, that works well.
So one in into the phone, one in and into the microphone, and you're good to go. I saw the artwork of the inside of the porta potty. I think that's fucking amazing. This is what AI was meant to do. You know? Can you imagine the AI being like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me."
Yeah, I took that picture a little while ago because I looked up and I'm like, you go in there, you take a piss, you don't really look around, you sort of just like, whatever. And I looked up in the corner and I see this thing and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like, why does it look like this angry face looking at me? So I was like, yeah, I'm going to take a photo of that. Run
Hey,
it for
Ali,
Disco or
look.
something at some point.
Peter's making art based on the inside of a porta potty. You see a little face there?
I do. I'm looking at the little face. I was just like enjoying it. This is really funny. I like it.
Okay, so that's the original. This is the. Look at this one.
I love it. Oh my god, that's so cute. He's a little guy. I love it. Oh my god, that's really cute.
So these are the. Hold on, let me show you the. So it starts at the top. Let's go down and see.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, I love this one with the circle face. I want little toys of these. Oh my god, I want to fabricate this into a toy.
Feel free.
Oh my god, sorry, I didn't realize you were talking to people. Hello. My kids do the phone all the time. I have no idea we're talking to people. I love everything I'm looking at. Oh my god, I really do want to make these into toys. They're so freaking cute.
That's awesome. I'm just running random prompts on these images because like I'm sort of trying to pay more attention to the world around me, not in the sense of like I feel like I don't enough. I'm always there for it, you know, but like trying to pay more attention to the imagery that sort of happens around me. Because I think it was someone shared a Da Vinci quote actually. I'm pretty sure it was a Da Vinci quote that was like, see if I can find it. Just give me a sec. Statement. Let's see, where was it?
I think it was.
Look at
I,
look at
I
Wall
am
Splash
scared.
with a number.
I'll say it
Sorry?
again. No, go ahead.
Someone posted this in one of the threads, one of these discourses. It's like, look at walls splashed with a number of stains or stones of various mixed colors. If you have to invent some scene, you can see the resemblances to a number of landscapes adorned with mountains, rivers, rocks, trees, great plains, valleys, and hills in various ways. Also, you can see various battles and lively postures or strange figures, expressions on faces, costumes, and an infinite number of things, which you can reduce to good integrated form. This happens on such walls and varicolored stones, which act like the sound of bells, in whose pealing you can find every name and word that you can imagine. Do not despise my opinion when I remind you that it should not be hard for you to stop sometimes and look into the stains of walls, or the ashes of a fire, or clouds, or mud, or like places, in which, if you consider them well, you may find really marvelous ideas. The mind of the painter is stimulated to new discoveries, the composition of battle of animals and men, various compositions of landscape and monstrous things, such as devils and similar things, which may bring you honor, because by indistinct things, the mind is stimulated to new inventions. Right? That's the quote that this person shared from Da Vinci, apparently. So it's kind of funny because I spot stuff like that around me every now and then, but not really pay attention to it.
Was it I can't remember which one said that, like it was either Van Gogh, Picasso, or Da Vinci that said, you know, when art critics get together, they talk about mood, form, and style and history. And when great artists get together, they talk about where to get the best turpentine.
Gotta love it.
What's going on, Trav? How you feeling? I got your message today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really good. Just wanted to say thanks for what you did for Kaon in that space too. Like, she's my little buddy, my like case study for, you know, you can, you know, like, meet someone in spaces and just sort of join them in their journey, share your experience, and then, you know, hopefully they find the right place. So yeah, it's pretty cool that you were able to sort of help us with that. So yeah, last time I spoke to her, I gave her some homework with, I think that she was trying to get in onto the open sea, was it called?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the next step. Yeah, MetaMask,
Yeah.
OpenSea, created an NFT, art,
Yeah,
all that stuff.
So we got the wallet, transferred some coin to her, and then I said, "Righto, cool. The next step is that I recorded it too, under the Syndicate. So I was sort of chasing yourself or someone to
Nice.
sort of keep the momentum going with chasing some funding for the Syndicate through the DAO, some sort of DAO. And yeah, no one popped in, and Kaon popped in, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to be
Nice.
a Syndicate host of 5 Prong, and just yeah. So she'd done her homework, and she was looking to do the next thing, and she'd done some work with another person from of 5 Prong, Crypt 777, just helped her with some of her spirituality work and stuff like that. And I said, right, our next homework is to OpenSea and put any sort of artwork on it, and I'm going to buy it off you. She's like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. So I said, like, we're going to do this because, for one, it's like of 5 Prong. It's about, you know, just you coming as a listener and not even being able to speak. And the first time you speak, you nearly had a breakdown with us and stuff like that too. Getting some tangible results, and it's not only that, it's teaching me too. So I'm learning through this journey as well, and I learn by doing. So yeah, it was really cool to see that you provided us those resources. So and having fun at the same time, you know. So And then for me, it's been a journey because my perception has completely changed of the world that I live in. And, I've been twisted and contorted into being someone that I'm not. And it's challenging to be that person and be good at being that person and then to be a mentor to others. Being mentored in a way that then you have to mentor others in a way that you don't, you have that cognitive dissonance. So, I've taken some time off work and found spaces because of Elon Musk, sharing an interest in Twitter. And I had a Twitter account, just thought it was clunky. Got into it, found you guys, found a bunch of other people, and now I'm just being myself. I'm like, this is who I am. I've rediscovered myself. Went and just followed my passions, and I'm like, I'm just gonna be myself now. I don't give a fuck what people think. I'm just gonna be genuine, and I'm just gonna share my story and meet my neighbors. And so much has changed in my life, and I went down to this play park, they sort of play gym with my daughter, and I was just talking to some people, ran into this chick, and that was 2 days ago, and she's got like I've got uh whole budget, and I need a coordinator. From what you're telling me, we need to catch up and have lunch. So, I caught up with her, and she's offered me a job at being a coordinator. So,
Whoa.
yeah,
Wow.
man, yeah,
Jeez. How did that happen? Where you just, what do you think it was about the energy that you exchanged that brought that into your life?
I was just being relatable. I was just talking to, like, she was the manager of the organization. Like, she was like where it all started with my dog. I was like, I want to bring my daughter in here, she can play, but I brought my dog along because we usually go to the skate park and go on the scooter. But I see what you're doing in here, but I need somewhere I can tie my dog up. So she was like, "Oh, I can help you. I'll show you the spot." And then we just started talking. And then I just sort of started relating to what she was saying, and then just, sharing my experience of my past when I was younger and at university. And, you get into all these types of things and do different stuff. And then she's like, "Okay, right. Well, would you be interested? Because we need to catch up and have lunch tomorrow because, I'd like to talk to you about something and just basically get your ideas." And one of the things that we were talking about was the social risk taking amongst adolescents. So it's like this development stage of the brain. I don't know if you've heard of it, and would you like me to sort of go into it a bit?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So social risk taking is like this. They've done some studies, and they found that when teenagers get to a certain stage, they start to develop these connections between the frontal lobe of the brain and your main part. I can't remember the name of it, but what it's trying to do is establish the risk taking connection of the brain, which is why we always sort of, as adults, look at teenagers and go, "Why are you doing that fucking shit?" It's because the brain is trying to work out, what's risky, what's not, and how to handle risky situations. So that's why, and they found that even some brains aren't even fully developed until the age of 30. Go ahead, MW.
Oh, were you done?
Oh, sorry, you put your hand up. So I sort of looked like,
No,
Oh, I
continue.
did
I've
put
got
my
this
hand
thing
up.
when
I
people
was going
put
to
their
add to what
hand
you
up,
were
like,
saying, but I thought I was going to wait till you were done.
No.
yeah, no. Oh, okay, right.
Okay, well, all
Um,
I wanted to say was that comes from hunting and gathering from when we very beginning of our time. That you can't send little boys out to hunt when they're little boys, but as they are getting to become men, they start to learn, and they need to learn to assess risks because they can die in nature. A small
yeah.
injury can cause a death, and so we have to learn that very, very young.
And doesn't that make total sense? Like, that just, hits home. And so the problem that she was facing is one of the projects was establishing within youth groups. They have a high membership rate with young people in the community. But when they get to an adolescent age, they lose them as members, and then they obviously go off and join up and become criminals in some sense. That's a sort of one of their options. So I was talking to her about the concept of social risk taking. I was like, if you can provide a area where these teens are perceiving themselves that they're going off and sort of independently sort of trying to perform these social risk taking tasks, and it's a safe avenue, you may attract more into the space because you're giving them what they need. So the challenge is then to find out what sort of project would provide that sort of opportunity for teenagers. So being at the skate park, I was one of the skate parks that I went and visited a friend in another town, and we were looking at this wall, and this big massive wall that the kids ride up, and it had been painted just flat grey. And then there was all this tag work over it about the local council, how they were heartless and all sorts of things. And I asked around, and apparently what happened was there was a young teenager at the age of 17, and he passed away, and he was a popular part of the community. They grew up at that skate park, so the skate one of the business owners of this, he owns a skateboard tattoo shop. He said he commissioned an artwork and a mural in this kid's honor. The council saw it and they just painted over it, just completely destroyed the artwork that was sort of a memorial for this kid and teenagers who've died. And they came and painted over it, and it absolutely just ripped the hearts out of all the kids in the community, because they all sort of came together. And so I came to we come up with this idea that we're going to sort of create an environment where these kids can now we're going to go to the council, and without them knowing, commission a piece of art somewhere, and then these kids are going to destroy it, and people are going to know about it. Certain people are going to know about it. We're going to do it legally. We're going to find some legal loopholes, and that's the idea of the project, to allow these kids in the community to destroy the artwork in a sense with a type of acrylic paintwork that you can sort of paint on but just peel off as well. So we're playing around with that idea at the moment, Peter.
This is so funny because of a quote that Michael said earlier, actually. We were talking about the Da Vinci stuff, and then he said, what was it? That when you get art critics together, they start talking about all the form and all this and that. But when you get great artists together, they start looking for the nearest paint stripper.
Yeah, but it's the act, it's the emotion. The art brings in, it's the behavior. It's not only the paintwork, it's like the rift in the community. And
absolutely. It's terrible that stuff like that happens. We've had stuff like that happen here in our community as well. And like, I don't know what part of the world you're in. I mean, I can hear that you've got an Australian accent, but don't know what part of Australia you're from. I'm from Perth.
Northeast Queensland, yeah.
You're Northeast Queensland. I think my brother's around there. He's in Wamuran, or however you pronounce that.
So it's I think I'm fairly but you know where Early Beach is?
No, I haven't been there in a very long time, to be honest. So
yeah, so sort of up where there's where else can I say? Townsville, south of Townsville.
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think.
9 hours south of McCann's. But anyway, you were saying.
So we've had stuff like that happen in our community here. Obviously, people have been really pissed off, but it fucking sucks when that happens.
Look, ideally, the council have actually commissioned this interactive artwork that's sort of down this alleyway, and it's beautiful work. And we'd love to get the artist permission to do something there, or like in retaliation, you just cover it with paint anyway. It's like, how does it feel to have your own artwork covered up that you've gone to work, hard work to do something for the community, and just have it painted over and just paint over their artwork, which would start a huge rift. The other idea when we're brainstorming is that you paint it with the acrylic paint, and you have some sort of instruction that you send through channels of the bureaucracy where you've given them the way to actually clean it without destroying the artwork underneath, but knowing them, they'd probably just come in and use the paint stripper and just destroy it all anyway. So you've given them an opportunity, but because of their own weaknesses, they weren't actually able to save the artwork. But so we're just playing around with all those ideas. So when I was talking to her about it, she was just like, and I just being myself, and she was, we really connected, and so she's keen. But we'll see. I've got to talk to my Soli and see what she says, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's thanks to these types of groups where I can just come in and actually be myself, and throw a bit of shit around and play around a bit, and I'm just trying to just travel towards where I can gain tangible results in the easiest possible manner, the quick wins. So it's like with Kaon, with Soyu, like you were saying, mate, with Kaon, just helping her out, and she's going to be my case study for a proposal I'm going to put in with a DAO about providing a space for people in like Syndicate like yourself. So you're very similar to what Of 5 Prong does. It's more of a professional sort of way, I feel, the Syndicate, because you've got a lot of technical experts here that help with
Oh man, stick around and you'll see how unprofessional it'll get in about an hour. No,
yeah, I would love to. I've seen it.
yeah.
I like the mix. It's a good balance. It follows the laws of nature, the laws of the universe. You've got to have a bit of chaos to keep things going. Otherwise,
yes.
Yeah.
There is chaos is kind of like wasabi on sushi, right? You need it, but like too much, and your eyes start watering, and right.
Yeah, man. I'm totally into chaos theory at the moment. I want to get into it and have a look. I want to meet some people who create chaos. I want to talk with psychopaths. That's what I really want to do. I want to create a space where you invite psychopaths.
I've often asked my wifey if I'm a sociopath. Like, we have discussions about it.
You think you're a sociopath?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I wouldn't be the best person to diagnose it, right?
Have you taken a test?
I did an autism test and I scored 20. And when I looked at the cutoff point, it was 20. Yeah.
That's proper on the spectrum. Nice. That's cool. The thing around that too is someone was telling me a book they read about sociopaths. So there's actually, like, you can get good and negative type sociopaths, but there's also the psychopath as well. But I can't find any.
It's true that autism isn't necessarily sociopathic.
You're right.
That's right.
You're right. It just we have all of these classic definitions of what these aberrations in activity are, and we use the DSM-4 for it, when we know that these definitions are very arbitrary, and if you drop one symptom for another, they might completely change your treatment. But it's something I've been thinking about for a long time, because I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure if we did an autism test on the people in this room, we'd find some interesting things. I don't think it's a mistake that we've gravitated towards each other, because we've found each other by finding other people and saying, I have no business with those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm actually going to say I think you're right about that, because I have actually recently wondered myself if I don't have a little bit of autism. I never even thought about it my whole life until recently, but I think you could have a point. But I'm not a sociopath or a psychopath, and I'm in no way evil in any of those ways.
Yeah.
I know, because my mom was actually super evil, and she was so bad and so smart that she actually went to school to become a professional in the fields of psychology and psychiatry and all that, so that she could know and master all the tests so she wouldn't be caught.
Right.
And it took 40 years to bust her and get her put away. So I have a
But-
little
Oh,
experience on
wow.
that. But so yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I don't want to be considered crazy, but I may be a little autistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask the people, there are a lot of people that get along with us, don't get along with us, go from getting along to not getting along with us, right? And I see all of this as very natural, right? And not something to necessarily be troubleshot. But people come and go, and that's fine. Some people stick. You know,
Yeah,
it's
well,
almost like
yeah.
that Jim Rohn thing of like, some people decided to come today. Why didn't other people? I don't know. I just stopped asking questions why. Right? Some people do and some people don't. And that's as
I
far as I
agree.
figured it out.
Like I have some
Mhm.
people that are getting really hurt on Twitter because not every relationship with every person is working out, and they get really emotional about it. And I'm like, if I meet one good person in this experience that truly ends up being a friend, I would call that a win, because
Huge
real
win.
friends are hard to
Huge win.
get.
yeah,
Right? Even to have one friend in this world who gives a shit about you is more than most people, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, the other thing is too, like, MDU, what you're saying about, and so you about like being on some sort of spectrum, possibly, and stuff like that, is like those spectrums are built by a was it a pretext of a social norm?
Yes,
But
you're right. Yep.
But that's
and
it. And I'm way outside of the norm.
Yeah, and
in
that's
the
what kind of brings us together, right? Because we have these takes that get us kicked out of rooms often, right? And we're like, isn't this obvious to everyone, right? And
Yeah.
then you realize, oh shit, everyone's salary depends on them not understanding this thing, Upton Sinclair.
Or we leave
So
the rooms because they're just so, yeah, you know what I mean, right?
yeah, and so it's okay for those rooms to be like that. It's just for us to decide, you know what? Although I might be interested in the subject matter, the subjects having this discussion, maybe I have no business with. And that doesn't make me a hero or them a villain or vice versa. It's okay, right? But I think to your point, a lot of people think that they've gotten to some place where they're supposed to get along with everyone. And I don't think it could be further from the truth. I think as you find your voice, you risk alienating people that wanted you to stick with your previous voice, and they get upset at you for adopting this new voice because it's not something that
And
maybe
Twitter
resonates with them.
magnifies that experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I think, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and I guess, in a sense, if you do ask the right questions and you follow what you're seeking, you're normalizing yourself because you're finding like-minded people. You're no longer going to society and finding out that, oh, hey, you're way off the spectrum. You need to come back. We need to get you back to here, and you need to take these meds, or you need to practice mindful meditation so you can be a normal part of society and produce and product. But here, I can be my exact self. I can feel normal, and then I can grow from there. So that it's a different type of method of, I guess, finding yourself and then realizing, yeah, actually I am contributing and I'm producing, and then taking those parts and going and decoupling with these collective consciousness and then taking it back out, because you get to rehearse theories, you get to sort of discuss and contort what you're thinking in your mind, and start to sort of, get your head around it better. So how can I communicate this? And you debate and argue it. And then when you go back out in society, you're prepared. And they're just like, fucking, whoa, who is this guy?
You're right. You're right. And in fact, we used to call it, when I was a boy, I was lucky enough to be with a few people like what we're talking about. We used to call it philosophizing. We didn't have a better word, and we were just kids. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. And can I ask a question? I get this vibe that there's a few artists in this room. But we're talking about science and artificial intelligence, but are there a few artists in here?
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, there's either art or a very, respect and interest for art. I'm
Cool. Go. What were you saying? Sorry.
I'm only new to that, but actually, I was thanks for bringing that up, MD. Because maybe we should NFT the wall that we're going to do. Like, in the space of a day, I've already found a wall that we're going to do that's facing another skate park and they're already prepared to give us the wall within
You
2
should
days.
absolutely NFT it, and then you might be able to use that as the legal loophole to destroy it and use the NFT as the art.
Yeah, well, see, the other thing we're exploring with the loophole is these artists that have done the wall for the council in the alleyway. When you commission an artist, this is what I got to find out. When you commission an artist to do artwork, once they perform the artwork, is there actually a sign-off completion? Because if you get permission from the artist who's like heard the story and they're into it, and they're like, fucking destroy it, go for it. And if the artist has got permission and they actually partake in it, then is there any legal
It's an
legally?
absolute contract, and it's totally negotiable. My daughter is a master's in fine arts, and I could actually find out all of that for you if you want. I couldn't tell you for sure in your country, but I might be able, because she does have international
Yeah,
cred, so I might be able to find out specific if you want me to. I'll
yeah,
see her today.
that'd be cool. Yeah, so that's sort of if you get that permission, then away you go, and then all of a sudden they
So you want me to ask her if she's commissioned to do a professional piece of art, a contract, that if it can be put into the contract that the piece is to be destroyed at some point afterwards, or
yeah.
okay.
Well, like what I'm trying to say, I'm not really explaining myself again because I'm starting to sort of rehearse it in my mind. But if the artist is, say for example, I commission you and I say, I want you to paint that wall. Once that wall is painted, is there actually any sign of completion to say the artwork is actually going to stay that way? You cannot evolve it. It must stay that way. I
It
can't
depends
imagine.
on the contract that you write. That's what I'm saying. Those aspects are negotiable. It's the destruction of it and the ownership I'm not sure about.
Yeah, so if the artist comes back, like, is there some sort of maintenance type of thing? Like, if it chips off, do they get the artist back, or what sort of clause can you come under if you get the permission of that artist and they say, "Hey, it's my art, and technically I haven't finished it yet," or something like that, it's still ongoing. How does it get signed off? Is there any completion of that work order? That's the sort of thing I'm thinking. If you get the artist permission, it's like, well, it's my artwork on the wall, and yeah. If you want to destroy it, go ahead.
Hey,
Yeah, I'll ask her today.
Peter, I think what you're doing, I mean, it's selfish because you're doing it with something I did as a throwaway. So whenever I am on the phone with people, I sometimes just like draw lines on a piece of paper and it becomes something that, you know, all the time.
You always doodle. It's so cute.
So check out at the top, you'll see Syndicate, right? Which is the initial thing that I drew on my piece of paper while I was on the phone. And look at what Peter did. I think it's pretty astonishing.
You know. Yeah. I figured after you
I think
destroyed
that was great. I love that. I looked at your piece. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Oh, but hey, Peter, that can I ask? Is that digital or are those paintings? Is that a dumb question?
I'm messing with the image generators at the moment, so the AI art stuff.
Okay. So it's an AI art. Okay, so it is digital. You didn't do it. You didn't paint it and then take a picture or anything.
No, not in this case anyway. I mean, I do a bit of physical art and stuff like that as well, but not
No,
on the
it's all
scale.
good. It's good. I just was curious because I know they're different. They're different things, and
Yeah.
I really like it. I like what you do. I think your background. Yeah. I really
So
like
did you
your work.
purposefully anthropomorphize it? Like, was that part of the prompt?
Yeah, I was just using the same prompt that I used for that Portaloo one, which was like,
Okay.
in this case, a monstrous tower god robot overlord looks down at peasant human servants in a sci-fi city landscape. Then I put my name, like I've used my name as an artist modifier, which I don't expect to do anything, but cyberpunk retrowave, Unreal Engine art station. So it's
I
just
really
like
liked it.
that sort of direction. But yeah. That's why I posted that thing earlier, Mike, where I was like, you know where this is going.
Yeah, and I had an idea, right? Where it's like, oh, but I did not expect the anthropomorphizing of, a line drawing. right?
Yeah, it's pretty wild because it actually gets me thinking. I sort of just did it as a goof, but now I'm thinking like I wanted to start, where I draw more. So I've been like
Well,
shit. I think.
Imagine somebody just flowing and they're drawing something on their piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
And then you take that drawing on a piece of paper and it becomes something. That could end up meaning a lot to that person, right? Because it could be almost like their doodles are like a dream, and when you anthropomorphize it, it becomes like a force in nature almost.
Yeah, I really like what you've done there, and I agree with that 100%. In fact, I'm curious. My daughter did some artwork with like frequencies and magnetic fields, and like how different frequencies vibrate and cause different patterns, and you can then represent those patterns in a visual way. And I was like going, man, we should make clothing out of some of this stuff. It was really cool. And I just thought, but what if you did what you did there to some of those things? It would be, whoa, my head's getting really twisted here. Sorry.
I mean, if you want, you can always just shoot or DM me like even just like a photo cap of it or whatever.
I will talk to her today about that too, and I'll ask because she does a lot of physical art, and she doesn't do a lot of computer art. It's a long story. It's kind of, that's her thing, She does every type of physical art. But so you guys would be like this beautiful combination. And so yes, if she allows me to share any of her stuff, I'll send it your way. Or if I can snag a generic digital image, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah.
You check out
I never want to step on her work, is what I mean.
Oh, of course. I don't want to step on anyone else's work either. Like if Mike had said that's not cool, like I posted that and I don't want you doing that, and of course I just straight up delete it and not do that. Like
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, in fact, like I said, she has some pieces that I know she's done, and then some pieces she might just say, well, that's just it's just a digital image I created from from analysis, so it's not like it's actually original. So it's like, cool, give it to them. You know what I'm trying to say. I hope.
Yeah, but even
So
that sort of stuff, good way. Like I was thinking about pulling out visions of chaos and just using these really old, like the sort of things that generate like the Mandelbrot fractals and things like that. All the,
yeah, I have a few of those too. I'm a I come from I have both sides. I'm an artist and an engineer, and it's been a conflict my whole life. And so, like, I'm really into the mathematics behind the Mandelbrot stuff, but I'm also really into the cool images too. So, I would love to share anything I have with you on that.
Awesome.
So you check out the doodle that I did while I was on the phone earlier today, because when I saw what you put up, I was like, fuck, that looks familiar. When I was on the phone getting some references for this job.
Well, that's like a goosebump moment, like when he said we all came to this room today, right? Earlier.
This sort of freaks me out. It's fucking cool.
Every single one of those images has a similarity to it.
Hey Casey, how's it going?
Should I really
like to sing a song. It's a 15
We
minute
would love to
solo.
hear a song.
It's a country rock rap.
No metal this week?
No, my voice is too sore from screaming yesterday.
Is this your original, KC?
We'll say again.
Is this an original of yours?
Which one? Which one?
Oh, I thought
My
you
PFP?
said you were going to play a song right now.
Oh no, it's a joke. It's a standing joke. I do enjoy the music spaces and people that sing, and every once in a while I like to pretend. But more than anything, we tease about the atmosphere and the culture in the singing spaces. It's like ultra over the top gentle.
Yeah. No, I'm sitting here just
Yeah.
like trying to not laugh out loud.
I'll laugh out loud. That's the point.
Okay.
Good, right on. Yeah. No, we like to make
Because,
fun of it. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
As soon
no.
as he started
I'll
talking,
give you an
I
example.
got it.
So what we did is KC, I've heard KC talk to his kids, and that's the same way he talks to adults. because because arguably the adults are more sensitive than the kids, right?
You're right.
And so Casey was like, "Hey, Melody, how's it going? I see you're outside. That's amazing. Well, I'm really glad you came today. Um, did you feel like singing today? Oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like that's
They're like,
that's a caricature of Casey.
that's
No,
like
it is
Blippi.
so true.
I'm gonna sing.
Sorry, Ozzy.
I'm gonna sing one, and it's because of what happened with the drawings, and I've been doing it in a couple of different spaces. So here we go. We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. Oh, I am, you are, we are the Syndicate.
That's
That
incredible.
was good.
That was
Hoorah.
awesome, man.
Who fucking raw?
You just pulled that out off your head, just boom.
No, it's like a play on a song that we have here in Australia. It's kind of like the unofficial anthem that they use. It's a pretty cool song. I can go and find it. It goes for a bit. I think it goes for about 5 minutes, but it's a pretty awesome song. But the one that I heard originally,
Can I ask, does it have bagpipes in it? Because I could just hear bagpipes.
I
in
totally
my
got
head.
like a Norse
Yes,
Viking
drinking song.
Yeah.
It
Viking
sounds to me
drinking
like
song.
you ever heard that song "Sanctuary" in church. How does "Sanctuary" go? How does that song "Sanctuary" go? I'll be a living sanctuary.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, how's it go? Pure and holy,
tried and true.
with thanksgiving. Yeah.
I'll be a living sanctuary.
Yeah. That's it. They reminded me of that.
Wow,
That's-
yeah.
yeah, you can hear it. Yeah, that's sort of that Nordic. It's I think also Irish thing. That's my sort of version of it. I put that in there just to get the sort of like the resonance in it. But
Mhm.
But
You
when
have
you
a
do it, it makes my
incredible
mind
voice,
just go, God, I could just hear bagpipes.
the lower range of your voice is it's interesting because I was talking to Can, and Can heard us talking about your voice is money, right? The voice acting with Christian, and a bunch of us are going to be going through that course with Christian, and I heard your voice. I'm like, damn.
I heard about
connect
this.
about it too. Yeah.
This Kaon. Is this the one that Kaon? I heard it briefly because I think you
Yep.
guys were talking about a power nap, and I was like, oh, I'm interested in this because, yeah, I mean, this is something that I play around with. Like I do sometimes, do different voices, and I sing. I've written a song and just do versions of songs as well, just for a bit of a hobby. But yeah, when I got hospitalized in the beginning of the year, I lost the ability to. I lost the what do you call it?
You're
The
kidding.
ability to.
What happened? If
Oh.
you don't mind me asking.
Just I was on some medication that was misprescribed, if you could say that, and then just had a reaction, and then ended up in hospital for 2 weeks. It only felt like I was in there for a day and a half. I didn't realize. So yeah, and then when I was sort of being consulted with the doctor said you're going to need to sort of have 6 months off work, and that's when I snapped in. I was like, what the fuck, what do you mean 6 months? He's like, well, you need to recover. And I'm like, well, from what? And he said, well, you've had this bad reaction with your liver, it's reacted with the meds, and you've been in hospital for 2 weeks. And I was like, 6 months, what the fuck, no way, get me off the meds, I'm going back to work. And it took me 2 to 3 weeks and I was back at work. It took me 4 doctor visits to get me clearance so I could go back to work, and then stupidly. And yeah, so here I am going around work trying to do tasks and stuff and fucking everything up and making a mess
Trevor,
of
I'm so
everything.
sorry to interrupt, man. What do you do for work, if you don't mind me asking?
I've done a number of things, but I was rebuilding engines.
Okay,
And
okay.
your heavy earth moving style engines and stuff like that, and Caterpillar machines and things like that. So I was doing that sort of work at the time. There was a contract that was fetching big money in town, so I could sort of do that and be at home with my family. And it's just that's when everything. So I started questioning everything, trusting the medical industry and everything that's happening, and then realized that yeah, okay, I do need to take some time off, and luckily I do have a bit of savings behind me, so I could afford to take time off, and that's when I found Twitter Spaces. So yeah.
And how long have you been on Twitter Spaces now?
I think it's probably coming on just over 2 months, I think. And in that time, I've managed to learn crypto, a little bit about it, get on the bike. It was sort of like I'm getting on the bike. Just don't tell me how the whole machine works. So just tell me how to get some. And then like I found a DAO that sort of like wants to support these types of spaces, and I would really like to sort of talk to more people from the syndicate and get a wallet happening or some sort of treasury happening, and see if we can get some funding for this, because I think it's very important that we evolve these types of spaces, because it's changed my life. These types of spaces have changed my life, so they've helped me in a way that the current society never could have. So I'm a case study, and I truly believe that. Yeah, that's pretty much all the answer to the question. I think I do rant on. Sorry.
Dan looked up from the typewriter.
Hey folks, what's going on? Good morning. Just getting ready for the day. Meetings, and the madness begins.
Yo, congratulations! Your house probably went up another 150 grand with Honda building their battery plant outside.
Oh yes, I know Ohio is becoming quite the destination now with Intel's plant and this whole Midwest region. I think Tennessee, Kentucky, all these long overdue in a lot of ways. It's like the whole chip manufacturing stuff is kind of coming back stateside, which is interesting. And I don't know, there's a lot of talk of like the good effects and the bad effects. There's a lot of people I know that moved out of that area that are pissed. They're like, I should have kept my house.
Ah, fuck. You know what I mean? Imagine moving out and be like, Apple is now building right beside your. Fuck.
Yeah, well, as China gets a middle class, they got to bring back our manufacturing. I'm glad. I actually hope America does start to make things again.
Oh yeah,
we are definitely... like if you look at Jim Keller's startup, he built chips for Intel, Apple, AMD, Tesla, and they just like if you look at, I'm going to put this at the top because this is happening. It's just nobody really cares about chips until now.
Plus, I think our machinists are some of the best in the world, aren't they? Our welders and machinists here.
Our imports from Hungary are the best machinists. You ever look up the Wikipedia article on Hungarian Martians?
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. I was just meaning America.
Yeah, we got some imports.
We produce.
We got
quality metal, is what I was meaning.
We have. It's almost like a baseball team with like ringers. It's like, are they American? They have a passport, But they're like, when I discovered,
like our Olympics.
Yeah, it's like the French soccer team being all people from Africa, right?
That's so true.
Vive la France. Who are these people? Il devient de la Congo, right? But I mean, we call it American software. And it's really, the code is by Indians and the cybersecurity is done by Israelis, right? Like if you look at every American cybersecurity company, there's an Israeli ex-military person founding that startup, right? We have these relationships that aren't necessarily on the front page.
Did you ask me something? I'm sorry, I stepped away for a second.
No, I think we're just having there are these moments in the conversation where I think there are silences. What's the plural of silence? Silentia? I don't know.
We're sliding into the sift of it all.
Yeah, maybe it's
Time
like
shifts. It's actually a moment where I was supposed to come on and do a ramble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Dan looked up from the typewriter kind of thing.
Yeah, I usually wait for the silence to come on and do some massive ramble about how today is going to not suck as bad as I think it is. I will push through the day. I will have this meeting where I don't really I can't really prepare for the meeting. I'm supposed to just be at the meeting and pray to God that the people in the room don't say.
Well, you prepared yourself, right?
Yeah, kind of, but I'm kind of just open a yes and no. It was a meeting I couldn't really prepare for, other than they just want to come in and talk. And those are often the most painful meetings because.
But like, not like prepare for the meeting, but like you prepared yourself to be in.
I don't know. I don't know if I've done that.
I think so.
I've actually.
You don't think so?
I'm overcomplicating it. I'm sure.
I think the most powerful thing about what happens here in my eyes is that people are able to slowly give up the things that they aren't. Does that make sense? Like when you're
easier said
when you
than
have
done,
some age on you, you have this you have this. I remember writing a note to myself, be like, "So what the fuck? You're just this person now? You're just gonna be this person, right? You're gonna drag all of your past forward, right? Like a ball and chain with all of these proclivities and these tastes. Like, do I have to be stuck being this person that I didn't even decide to be? Or is it possible for me to break out? And it's challenging to break out of the person that you were because everyone around you has built their reputation, built their relationship with you based on you giving in, based on you not speaking up. And so when you become yourself, I think we don't realize the risk of losing the people that are close to you, which is not a bad thing, because those people that are close to you often will come back in 2 or 3 years, change themselves, and now you pick up kind of where you left off as different human beings.
That is profound and deeply touches me, because it's
There's
like
this calcified expectation for us to be who we were yesterday in the presence of the people that know us, you know?
Yeah, and you're just making up for what was installed in you by, I guess, your surroundings.
How do we uninstall parts of our personality that are no longer serving us? You know,
fucking
add
with
and
cool
remove
guys
programs.
like this, right?
Are you sure you want to remove this personality trait? Yes.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, in some circles they call it an unlearning.
These realizations that you have, like I totally vibe with what you're saying there, are significant moments. And the fact that we're recording them here, like in these types of spaces, and you can hold on to them, like there's sort of moments in space time where there's these individual beings that are sort of the culture and awareness and comprehension is changing and evolving. And it's interesting. Like I often imagine, imagine the future that we're going to live in from these types of technologies that start. These metaverses started as little tiny images, and then how they're going to grow and evolve. And people could choose to come back into this moment right now and listen to the space, and then put up a notification that's like, I heard so you say that. and I'd like to add this, and then so you can come back and be like 80 years old and go, oh, that was a moment in time that was significant, and this is the beginning of time travel, where we can travel forward and back, and people can come back and share history in the metaverse. So it's kind of exciting, and in my head at the moment has just sort of worked away of a very primitive version of doing something like that, and we can do that right now with what we're doing in these types of spaces like the Syndicate. And so I just started that. I can't remember if it was this morning or today or last night, but yeah, I'm sort of looking for people who want to play around with that as well at some stage, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, we have a lot of things happening. I think that one of the reasons I'm starting with the voice side is because I believe that if we can get the voice at, the right quality, then we can really start publishing things.
Yeah, are you able to DM me some links on that? Like, you got to sign up and pay or anything like that? The course that you were referring to?
I don't know if he's put that stuff together just yet, but it's all coming together over time.
Yeah, I'm in. I think that's a great idea.
Hey guys, I got to start doing some work that's going to take me away from touching the phone, so I'll probably be listening mostly. If you get filled up with speakers, don't mind dropping me to a listener. And if that happens, I had a really good time talking to you guys this morning.
Yeah, nice chatting to you.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah, it was great. I'll look you guys up regular.
I want to get those 3 pieces of artwork and sort of throw them in one of those evolving AI things and see what it comes back at us with. It's cool.
So, thank you for mentioning that. That gives me to remember and make a note right now in my head. I need to find out that question for you, Travis, and I'll ask for you too, Peter, and deal with that today within the next couple hours.
Cheers, appreciate it. It's awesome.
Much love. So I'm just busy messing with these things over here, so I'm a bit quiet.
Well, I get to take a few days off. The board of directors for my client is blowing up. There's all kinds of shit going on, so I get to take some time off. What kind of trouble should I get into?
All of the trouble.
All of it? Ooh, it's been a while.
Come with me. I'll show you some fun.
What's your option?
Are you buying? No, I'm just kidding. No, I have some projects of my own. I can certainly spend this time on, because for me, time is the most dear currency. But I'm working on a couple of podcasts, and you were talking about some publishing, and I'm sorry, I was kind of zoned out. I was answering a message. What kind of publishing are you guys getting involved in?
I think, are you referring to the voice course that you was talking about?
Oh, so is this like for voice acting and that kind of thing?
I'm only just sort of hearing about it, so Yes.
Yeah.
I think Dan is a man.
Very cool. Very cool. So, are you thinking about making this digital, or are you wanting to manifest it in print, or what forms of media are you looking at?
I think so. You might be working on something at the moment, and so is Dan. But from what I know, is that Kaon was telling me about. It's just sort of like a course that helps focuses on developing your voice and how you can use it, how you can contort it, playing around with those sorts of ideas. I might be wrong though.
Yep, right.
You've got some. Well,
Yeah.
have you been?
The basic hypothesis is that your voice is money,
Mm-hmm.
and that we don't realize it, but there are people raising tens, hundreds, millions of dollars just based on their voice.
Right.
And we all have this idea that we know how to communicate, but invariably there are levels, right? And my experience working with Christian and Steph, Christian has been making money with his voice, with Total Drama and doing commercials for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, he's the only person I know that's actually monetized it in any way, right? And
this short of somebody showing up for a gig, and singing, you mean monetizing it in a digital way, right?
well,
And
it's
so,
like, what he specialized in is children's cartoons.
right.
And I think the amount of communication savvy you need to be a child animation voice artist, there's like a lot of curriculum there that's not necessarily taught at the universities we go to. You know what I mean? Usually you have to go to Juilliard or study under, you know what I mean? But
Right. And
yeah,
just shades of meaning by how loose or tight your throat is for a single word and emphasis. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't
So,
realize
yeah.
all of the technique and thought that goes into breath control, because you think it's all about the script, right? But then Christian said it's what's not on the page that gets you the part.
Right.
And so you start asking yourself, well, what's not on the page?
Okay, so there's a few people over on Clubhouse. You guys remember Clubhouse, right? I very rarely go over there because I just don't know anybody anymore. But there used to be some really good. Well, they themselves were not great voice actors, but they were really good teachers about what it takes. This whole idea of communication, not only in a very direct way, like using your voice, but also your voice in a more less literal way, and how to use it. So you're are you part of this, Michael? Is this one?
Yeah,
You're
2 years ago, we started doing these, 4-week master classes, and 2 years later, people have agents, people are
Yeah.
playing detectives on NBC. So at
Well,
this point, like,
see,
I never, yeah, go ahead.
I tried to give Dan money. I tried to give Dan money for his voice, and he wouldn't take it. But I personally think, as I listen to the voices that are here that come to this particular room, there's a distinct quality and care, I think, that most people take when they get here. And so it's rare to be given the space in order to make yourself clear and to be able to develop those ideas without being interrupted. And
This
so,
is sorry on
yeah,
that.
no, it's huge. So, but to create this course material in, do you want to make this like some sort of multimedia presentation? Is it something that's going to coexist,
Yeah.
say, in art,
Uh-huh.
or what?
The thing about Christian is he has a studio. So there's like, in the building that he's in, there are 4 levels. And so he has this massive room with the floor to ceiling green screen and the, 360 directional microphone so you can get spatial
Okay,
audio.
where is this guy now?
It's in Australia.
Where is this guy?
Hamilton. Yeah, he's in Hamilton.
Oh, well, that's,
Yeah.
he'll be unmolested by me then. Okay.
Oh,
But
so can I ask a quick question, an awkward question?
By all means.
Well, I would be interested in that if it would be possible. I'd like you to keep me on the loop of that.
100%. Yeah, we start the course in a couple weeks. I talked to Christian. We figured out a price point for 4 weeks plus a sizzle reel where you actually record something. It's about 500 US for the 4 weeks, and it's chopped into a deposit of half and then the rest later on, right? But one thing that has happened that some of the people haven't been exposed to is I actually introduced Dan and Malaby and the Assigned and Sandra and everyone to Christian over a call. So maybe what I can do is have another call where I can introduce you to Christian. Christian is very esoteric and metaphysical, and sometimes that doesn't jive with a lot of people. But if you have an open mind about the things that we can't sense, then Christian and Steph and Dave and the rest of the team, they're your people.
Yeah, I had family drama going on at that time. I really wanted to be there. I had big FOMO about that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, we'll do it again. There's a few people like Kaon hasn't had a chance to meet Christian, yourself, Trav. So maybe I'll do another one because we're going to be starting these courses in the next 2 weeks. People have started putting in their deposits.
My headspace is wide open. Just keep me in the loop.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll send you the details. The major thing is, I believe, at the end of the day, I started out as a recruiter, and in a lot of ways, I remain a recruiter. In that, I try to identify, things worth working on and the people who are worth working on those things worth working on. And more, I find, a lot of this started with Dan because I heard Dan the first time, and I was like, oh, that's absurdist humor. We have that in Toronto, and that's very popular. If you look at Nathan For You on Comedy Central, maybe their number one show, that's an absurdist comedian that used to do sketch and stand-up in Toronto. So it became widely popular here because, in Toronto, where there's a lot of businesses and startups, invariably there's comedians that like to make fun of businesses and startups. So, it's a niche that was known to me. And then when I heard it from Dan, I was like, oh, all I need is to make sure that I have this in the hertz required to publish as a comedy album. And that was maybe 3 months ago. I don't know. But now we're carrying that forward.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dan and how he interacts with this.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to be right back in 2 seconds.
Thanks, man. Haven't really met yet, so I don't know the people I run into in these spaces. I guess I never know the list of recordings that kind of go out. I guess I should follow those more on. Melody, I didn't charge you because I didn't, I was, first of all, I was honored. I got picked on the lineup, and then, I'm just now kind of trying to play in the space. And so I kind of always lead with free, and then I hope that there's something gets formed on the other side eventually. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know, I'm not charging for it yet, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is a part of me that just needs to come out, and it helps me.
My return offer was basically offered in exactly the same spirit. So but the thing is that in the lineup, that's pretty funny. I just felt like you were the most approachable. I felt like everybody else was.
Well, that's part of it too. Is that part of part of what I do for a living is to be the most approachable, right? I'm one of my roles when I worked in commercialization at Ohio State was to be the one that would believe people that were crazy, right? So
Right.
and more often than not, they're not crazy. You actually have a really cool idea, cool intent, and I have that little capability and love it. So you gave me an opportunity to try and to create something. So really, the honor is mine. I appreciate it. I should have paid for
It
that.
was just so fun. It just, just from a selling point, if you're looking for testimonials, it beefed up the project by about, I don't know, 200%.
That's great. All right, I'll come back
So,
for you. I might want that on audio later. I'll come back and interview you.
well, I wanted to use it so bad, I went back to the audio that I had gotten from the first Hotbox and was trying to find another story. And then I was trying to find maybe some content that I had on my website or article that I had written that I could read and proffer for
Yeah,
a Hotbox, but I could not find anything. So I'm still waiting. We got the next one coming up this, I don't know,
yeah.
September 8th
Well,
or something.
yeah. Well, I mean, anytime. Let me know. I enjoyed making that, and it was even, it was exciting to listen and like wonder where my voice would show up. I mean, that's a
Well,
new
you
way to
went,
explore things.
yeah. You went everywhere, including that weird guy out there in, wherever who saw an alien, and I swear to God, I'm not a drinking man. He had big, friendly eyes.
I liked your format a lot on Anchor because it was bite sized enough. It's one thing that I always struggle with podcast content is sort of how to make things digestible and keeping people
Yeah.
listening.
Well, that's the thing. If you've got more than one, I mean, you've got one subject that maybe can be broken off into three different pieces, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I think 15 minutes is your maximum for anyone's disposable income as far as time is concerned. And then you break that up into 5-minute bits um, as far as, modular uh, segments, I guess is the best way to look at it. And then something that's even smaller and turning it into like a pocket podcast within a podcast was just my excuse for using it within the
yeah,
ghosts of context. But then I thought, well, that's not a bad idea actually. But the hot box I want to be wider than just Taos and Taos history, but the ghosts of Taos kind of has to stay
yeah,
centered
yeah.
locally here.
It was cool. I liked it.
He's the best. He's the best. He turned it around really fast and, faster than any of the squirrels around here have been able to turn it around for me. And, it's really important. Another thing in putting together podcasts to vary your either your mix down on your voice if you have to be the same consistent voice across all the segments, or to beef it up with Mr. Dan.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and it's a great thing to have on my. It's the first thing on my voice resume. So hey, thanks.
Well, let's hope you get so many jobs that it gets nudged down off the page break, um, right away.
That'd be great. I keep looking into that kind of future. The future, the life I lead right now is I gotta roll off and put myself in a state of mind that says I'm okay when I know I'm freaking out, and then I'm gonna command a whole bunch of people in the room, sit around and talk to a bank about how they're gonna fix their future. They have no idea, and they just want me to be me. And that's the weirdest thing in the meeting. It's like, Dan, we just want to come in and talk to you. And we want you to blow us up. I'm like, okay. So it's a weird ask, and I'm nervous. This is also a big client, so you don't know if it's one of these hard meetings where it's like, what do you prep? There's nothing to prep for. You're just supposed to go in and listen to them and tell them if they're fucked. That's it. That's what I'm being paid for. And it's not so much that they'll be fucked. I mean, they have millions of dollars. They can do everything. But the question is, will they do the right thing? And that's what they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out how to get on the right trajectory. And it's not to say I know that, but it's to say that out of anyone in town, people say, go to talk to me. So apparently I'm the one that's trying to help them disrupt, I guess. and get ready for next, which is to think differently, think quicker, faster, and realize that your windows for validation on things are actually happening in real time. So you have to constantly be creating, and in a lot of ways, you have to be constantly laying down the foundation that'll make you look better 3 weeks from now. So, what is the thing that you need to lay down now that'll put you at ease in 3 weeks, or that will put you, the calm in the storm? And it's it's a weird metaphor to think about. It's some of it's planning, but a lot of it's positioning yourself. Um, and so Michael's point here in the beginning was like, yeah, you got to shed a part of yourself to be this new person. And that's what I'm spending most of my time doing. I'm spending most of my time actually stressing over the people that in my business who've been close to me. Not, I'm going in a new direction. So I almost have to think for them as well. And that's trying, because I don't want to think for them. Not when I gotta, crush pressure and a bunch of other shit. And of course, you don't get a break from reality because you're going into the November, or what we call the fall crunch. The fall crunch is where you go into that with a certain amount of money in the bank, a certain amount of employees, and if you don't raise the money that you have through deals, you're going to lose people, right? And that's always it's just a stressful fucking time. You're chasing payroll again. I hate it. I'm being forced to chase payroll. I could give a fuck about payroll. Payroll comes to me. I need to remember that. Abundance comes to me because I am abundance. That is it. So I have to fix myself in that regard, and I'll work on that. But it's trying, I probably don't sound like the usual Dan. I sound a little run down. I am, but I'm getting there.
I was gonna say I'm hearing a different type of phonetics in your voice. Sounds like we need.
Yeah, it's the stressful one. I'll be better. This is the one I'm under siege on, and I don't know. Just don't like going into things where I don't know the plan just yet. But I'll be all right.
Past, have you bombed? Like bombed bad?
Nah, it's the storm. It's a cycle. You can't have the sun without the moon. You can't have the stars without the supernovas. And you can't have a whole shit ton of joy unless you intimately know a shit ton of suffering. And only then will you find the actual the best part of beauty is actually in between. It's actually not on both sides. You can't be on X side or Y side. That's boring. So dimensionally human. The best part of humanity is that fucked up part in the middle. Yeah, that's the part that we really grow in. On that note, folks, I want you guys have a great day. I'm going to get in this car and we're going to rock this meeting. Melody, thank you for the first opportunity of doing my voice out there, and I love it. And thank you, Michael. Of course, the Soul Syndicate. Trav, great to meet you, my man. Thanks for the kind words today. I think that's cool, dude. A lot of people reach out and say things are cool and nice. It's good. And I think you have a deep voice. You'd be good in that voice program as well, because that voice actor guy is the bomb. I can't wait for that class.
It's 1 a.m. in the morning here, so as I get more fatigued, the voice gets a bit more lower and croakier. But I think I came in the first space I came in. You were up here and you're riffing away, and then you spotted me, and I was like, oh shit! And then you went into my profile, and I was like, oh fuck! And you're like, let's check out this guy. We're gonna go into Trav. What's he doing today? Oh, let's see. Yes, he does have a heartbeat. And I was like, oh, that's fucking funny. And you're cracking me up. And then there was the Together Alone. And I'm like, oh, yes, yes. I actually find myself like a little kid. Yes, dance up there. Oh, yeah. And yeah, it's proper entertaining. And I think it's important that you have those things in these types of spaces and just break things up because, it needs to happen because otherwise it's just becomes monotone in a sense. So, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man, totally. That's Michael's insanity. He's he's constantly the puppet master, bringing in just what we need. Hey, everybody. I brought in a whole band of live rats. I'm going to roll them into the room. You know, the space has always got something weird and crazy going on in it.
So does the Syndicate have a community wallet yet, or anything going on there?
Not yet. It's pretty decentralized by design a little bit. I think it's kind of like organically geared around probably people empowerment first, and then what people are doing in terms of like central organization or I mean, there's lots of different products that people are working on in relation to the Syndicate, but everyone's sort of it's a festival. The best way to think about the Syndicate is it's an old drive-in movie theater parking lot that every Saturday has a flea market, right? So people show up and they create a community right when they walk out on that. They set up their booth and their table and they start talking. And in the center, we just sit around a campfire and we talk all night and laugh. And then next day, that ground is cleared and they move the party somewhere else. It's like that's what it is. It's kind of like that. I think it'll form structure, but at the same time, it's like it's like
you. I don't mean to cut you off, Dan, but I fucking wrote it down. You kind of said it. It's the last word you were saying was before you said you were getting in the car was in the middle is where we grow. So
yeah, man, that's what it is.
Yep. You heard it, folks, right here. Dan the Man.
So yeah, I turned a silly little scenario I put on my piano. It's a little baby doll, little plastic thing I got at the dollar store, and then a party favor, which is an air horn, because I've always wanted one, and it's too bad I no longer have a cat, because I imagine I would use it. But that being said, this is Loud Baby Knows. And so it's almost like this idea of knows and no. So Loud Baby Knows, and lots of claps and cheers as you're getting into your car to go do your presentation. And give them a little squeak from the hot box.
Very nice, very nice. And like, asking about the wallet before, what you were saying there, Dan, therein lies the true value. Like when people are actually growing personally and going off and performing tangible outcomes and things like that. That's the true power on what this is. I just think I just have a feeling that it's going to need some coin to share around with its projects and sort of do something with that too. I think I need to go on a bit of a journey because I need exploring because I've only just sort of looked into crypto and exploring what sort of crypto would actually line up with the Syndicate and how the proposal would look. But yeah, there's definitely something there. And
I feel like we would use a coin. I don't know. I mean, I guess we could create a coin too, but there's definitely folks in the group that are more crypto centric focused in terms of like how those ideas and concepts. And there's tons of people here that come up with, we could create a contract for this or that. But yeah, we don't, we need to sort of form probably committees or groups of like who can spearhead that and what is needed.
Well, the other piece is I talked to Christian yesterday about interfacing with an entertainment lawyer for everything we're doing, just to make sure that we set things up in a way where everyone can get compensated for the IP that is contributed to a project. So you might have the instrumentalist who's creating the beat and then making the IP for the vocals. How do they both benefit in a separate way where they have their own companies? That's what I need to talk to the entertainment lawyer with, Christian. So we'll line that up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think when it comes down to the voice stuff, it'll be. I mean, that's a nice area where it'll get more organized and everything else. But we should. I don't know. I want to caution anyone from. This is like you're doing startup, right? Syndicate startup. I mean, that's what we're falling into.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, if someone wanted to do something apart from the syndicate, I wouldn't mind. You know what I mean? As long as I can add to what they're doing, right?
Yeah,
It's all a
totally.
case study to me. You know, I don't want to artificially constrain things in a way that might restrict creation. That's my number one thing.
You're so cute.
What?
I don't know that you don't. That's the nice sentence.
What? Not
You don't wanna
artificially.
Creativity. I like that.
Yeah, because we do have constraints, right? But the constraints can allow us to grow. But you ever hear about gamers complaining about a certain aspect of a game, right? Like Street Fighter people will complain
Yeah.
that, they overpowered Blanca, and if you use Blanca, you can spam people and win. So I'm very apprehensive about that. Maybe more than I should.
You'd be surprised though at that's where some of our greatest creativity comes from. Those constraints and having to overcome them.
Right.
People like to cheese games.
Yeah. So I think,
It's the Saturnian aspect of limitation and how it causes one to grow.
Yeah, I think it's I want to make sure that when we make these decisions, they're very intentional rather than haphazard, because I see you only notice the haphazardness later on, right? And they manifest as these things, and you're like, oh man, people are fighting or people are doing this, and you don't realize it's because of Dr. Wetzel showed me this, that some projects are doomed to fail because they get their math wrong in the beginning, but the math only fails at the second or third level. And so everything's going fine until the second or third level, and then all of a sudden things seems to stall, and they're not stalling. It's because of the game theoretic nature of how things are being compensated that is choking the growth. So it made me really pause.
What Dan's saying too, does it really need to? If it's already working, city and constraints, and then what opportunity costs are we foregoing? What's the opportunity cost of doing these types of things? And if someone's doing it better, do you just outsource it and just like what you do, the technology?
Yeah, you got to be. That's the whole thing. My whole business is building software for people, and I'll say first and foremost, I can't wait to disrupt myself. Right, like every day, there's a better way to do something, and it's not so much you can't so much change tech and platforms, but your mindset should be more flexible. One of the problems with putting down roots is that you put down roots in a bias, right? You put down roots in an assumption, and then that assumption sort of festers and feeds the delusion. And then before you know it, you've created a whole, in a lot of ways it's good because that's what you're supposed to do. If you're a creationist, you sort of create the whole monstrosity, right? But sometimes these things all they become are massive villas in your mind where you created, but you've never toured there, you would never live there, you never took anyone there. So you can do that in business, right? Happens all the time. I mean, I constantly question whether or not I am creating anything or if I am just creating nothing, But the validation comes from the ask, right? So Michael, this test of, I'm going to see if there's anyone who gets voice talent, recognizes Dan, let's create something that's pretty cool, snowballs. Next thing you know, he's got, 12 people willing. And then what's funny is that's 12 people without any notion of telling the world, right? So what would it look like if you actually opened up and told the world and not just advertise it to the world, but actually told it from your story? Hi, I'm Dan. I worked in tech, but now I do cartoons for small animals on TV, and I'm a hell of a lot happier. You know what I mean? I'm open for that.
That's the opportunity, right? I always ask people when I'm recruiting, before you tell me what you want to do before, I don't want to assume that what you've done before is what you'd like to do in the future, right? And often people are looking for an opportunity to reinvent themselves out of the past 20 years, right? And they never meet people who are ready to embrace that, because sometimes if you're successful as a Python developer, people just want you to do that because it makes them a lot of money. But you may have gone past that phase in your life.
Yeah, time to move on type thing.
Be progressive. Like, just don't be afraid to do anything that's new, right?
Just to go kind of back, Dan, and especially in your domain, it's completely ever evolving and such. So it becomes more difficult. You have to completely adapt with the new fandangles advancements of understanding new languages and softwares and then APIs and all. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, the beauty is that none of us have to become experts in the things that we're not experts in, right? I don't need to learn Disco Diffusion. I just need to hit up Peter.
Oh, at least having the basis of it, the basics of it, it helps a lot because then you get used to it.
One of the problems that I'm encountering right now is that I am capable of doing almost all aspects of this project myself. And I also tend to be a control freak. But I've been doing this kind of work for a really long time, and I feel like I'm really good at it. And I'm dealing with people who are a lot younger than I am, and the pushback is larger than I've ever experienced ever. And so I'm just wondering how it is that you are able to express yourself with honesty, and trying to watch your tone and be upbeat and all these kinds of things when every attempt that you do to try to keep your boundaries for what you've been hired for firm and not step on anybody else's toes. This seems to me this big dance of territory that so many people deal with, and especially in startups. But that ability to hand off, maybe be able to have that sort of meta picture or big picture view of the organization. Leaders will always distinguish themselves, and there will be pushback one way or another about the suitability of certain leaders. But just entering into this equation, the numbers, the way the fractal unwinds, um, does have a lot to do with the seed that it grows from. And I'm learning this with a client. Well, not learning it. Let's just see. I'm seeing a lot of things play out that I've seen play out before. That I haven't been able. I have not been that. What's the word that you use? Be able to respond quickly, and to adapt. Uh, I'm fine, because I see it and I recognize it, and that's part of that pattern recognition thing that I spoke of when you and I first met, Michael, and why I like this space so much, because we're able to really look at things from almost an aerial perspective, but at the same time still able to get granular by reaching out to somebody who knows Python or something.
My bad. I'm going to ask again. Trav, are you talking? For some reason, I can't hear Trav. I can hear everyone else. It's weird.
Yep, I'm here. Just to give you a
Oh,
heads
there you
up.
go. Awesome.
I'm where am I at? 1:30 in the morning. I'm probably going to lay down, so I'll probably have to drop out.
I appreciate you staying up with us. It is 1:30 over there. It's 11:30 a.m. in Toronto.
Nice. Nice the morning. I'm just a little bit ahead. Does anyone know if there's like a space-time clock?
Say more words if you don't mind. A space-time clock.
Yes.
You mean the time out of our world?
Stardate.
Yeah. It's sort of like a star date because, like, in these spaces, you sort of we're all we're all present in the same time, but then we say it's 11.
Isn't that
My
Greenwich
date
Mean
is
Time?
I'm ahead. Yeah, Greenwich Mean Time is the but
Yeah,
the star date.
the global center, but then you can look at it from a solar center. And is that what you're looking for, or a galactic center, or the whole? Because locality is all, but it means nothing. Oh no!
Yeah.
Did I just do that? I'm sorry.
What I'm trying to say is sort
Yeah.
of like where Earth is in its position and sort of in relative to its time, from beginning of the universe. That's what I'm sort of.
I mean,
So
So
it
the
could also
source
be
I'm gonna get out my
source
old
time
trusty
location
dusty
type of thing?
it could be our
ephemeris.
proximity to the moon, though, right?
Yeah, but it's just like imagine you're sort of making a diary of things. Like, so I think about what you're talking about with the voice course and things like that, and like how do you capture the course? How do you deliver it? And thinking about the technology that we're going to have in the future. Say, for example, okay, so you set up the course and we set it up in a type of metaverse where we've got 3D cameras and we're recording it. We're not only working on voices, we're working on body language and acting and all that sort of stuff. And depending on how you want to interact with the course, with the technology available to you. So you'll be standing there in the room and you're delivering the course and we're doing tasks and all that sort of stuff. And people are interacting with you in that metaverse. And then courses develop, they don't just stay that one flat individual thing. So over time, the course develops within the metaverse as you're delivering it. So you can go back and edit it. And then the technology now is that we have, I read an article the other day about, I think it was in the UK, where this one guy's working with AI, where he recorded his grandma and gave her a series of questions, a whole bunch of questions. And when she passed away at the funeral, he brought up this like a 3D type image of her, and the family and people at the funeral were able to ask her questions and interact with her and learn so much more about her that they had no idea. So, and this is sort of talking to, I guess, interacting with that personality who is now passed on, but is growing within AI,
So
interacting. So,
imagine we have about 90 to 120 days of recordings. Since we can isolate for speakers now with the technology that's available through the API, imagine I can have the best of Melwell, or the best of Trav, Danny, the best of Bilal, the assigned, Peter, KC, Pavel, Ryzen, right? And from that best of curation, you can then feed that into a machine along with the tweets to be able to mimic the perspective that that person has.
yeah, so I mean, the things that are being captured in these spaces right now by Twitter are worth worth more than their weight in gold, because you can essentially see what kind of personalities are attracting what kind of entities and beings, and we're seeing how to attract and detract and control and manipulate, because by having co-hosts with a muted mic, essentially we get people in the room and we can mute them. And I've we've all been in those spaces where they control the narrative of the space by just muting everyone and talking over the top. There's just this very powerful thing going on here, and we're all sort of feeding into it. And it's all, as we're talking, it's all being time stamped, it's all being recorded, and those captions. I just love seeing how amazing it is that it's just typing away as I talk. And so yeah, I just sort of think about how we can basically take that back and start to begin and use it for our own little collective consciousnesses and improve on it and just keep it in our back pocket for the day where we do have that technology available to us as you create that content, that sort of interactive content. Am I losing everyone, or is it just sort of not really interesting?
No,
No,
just
I was.
marinating, absorbing.
Yeah, I was interested in the idea of you're asking for a clock, and so I was thinking about celestial objects in motion and computing trajectory, right? Which is kind of like what this AI would be performing with this discrete personality, this persona, at least as far as Grandma has projected on. We have no idea Grandma's secrets, but at least public Grandma we have, and so we are able to postulate what she would say if asked this question or whatever, based on the data that we have about Grandma's opinions and manners from before. So
what is the totality of the metaphor frameworks that Grandma used to survive, and what might be her perspective? I can see Grandma getting canceled almost immediately in some circles.
Yeah, if you don't
How
give
do you
me the
cancel Grandma?
if you don't give me the Grandma I want, I'm going to go back to the API and say, no, wait a minute, where's this choice that I made in the multiple choice questions that gave me this old bitch? Please give me my Grandma, right? And so,
and sort of Grandma, like the capability of being able to travel back in time and sit down and talk with Einstein.
Or
and then
I never met my grandfather. I never met either of my grandfathers. You know how much I would kill to be able to see their writings, hear their voice, get their perspective.
And then imagine being able to provide that opportunity to every person on Earth or who wanted it. Like sort of like, as we are with
it's
people
like
in
access to ghosts is what you're saying. Access to ancestral spirits, right?
I'm sort of that's we have the technology right now to record someone and begin to answer questions, and sort of download their personality, their life experience, and everything, and then not just read about it or watch it. We have that ability to interact with it. So if we're able to do that right now, then essentially we're going to have the Einsteins, the Elon Musks would be able to essentially lay out a bunch of data, all these types of personalities, whoever your heroes are, have the ability to sit down and do these types of recordings in a 3D environment and then provide an interaction to every other child or being who wanted to go and have a conversation and learn about Elon Musk and interact with them in a way, ask them questions, even long after he's gone. Like
So just as an intermediary step, I put it to the top. It's called Zealous.1. So far, Zealous.1 is the best free to use software that integrates well with Twitter Spaces. And so if you wanted to look back and re-experience anything you've ever said on Twitter Spaces, you can use Zealous.1, and it will identify every time you spoke. And then you can jump to those spaces and kind of look back. It's interesting to step outside yourself and see how you interact with other people, right? And be like, almost create like a greatest hits of yourself. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, why stop there? Why not use these kind of places and integrate it with models like GPT-3 or GPT-4 when that comes around, and create entire personality models that you can then archive,
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Are we really talking about the how might we embody consciousness with binary?
It's not embodying consciousness. It's creating models of who a person was in a certain point of time in their life and all that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
But they have to be contributing that data. It's funny because we had the same conversation last night with who was it that was talking about buying my data directly off me, like, you know, at my every move and all that. Like, how much would you like take for that, you know, money wise? And it's like, you know, I'm not going to get into that discussion again now, but it's funny that we had that conversation last night. And now it's come up again today. And I've had this same discussion with someone who's been basically in the position of recording all this data about themselves for the sole intention of it. Like, they want to train a model based on them to basically have a model.
Yep.
There's even a business model out there that's collecting this and promising to deliver essentially bottled, you know, upon death, and the ability to sort of, you know, decant.
Well, imagine that. I've been on Twitter for what, 4 or 5 years now, right? And I've been interacting and posting for 5 years. So imagine you took everything I said in a Twitter space, plus all of my tweets and reply threads, and used that as the set of inputs. It's pretty powerful, depending on how openly you've spoken on Twitter, right? And especially the people you've conflicted with, right? Those discussions and threads that you have with people where you're stating your thesis, they're stating their antithesis, and you're coming up with a synthesis. Like, what could tell us more about you than to see how you interact with other people?
Exactly. Yeah. And then how can you apply all that technology? How much does that change and alter education, the way we learn?
So we have a few Python developers in the background that have been exploring and sending me JSON files and doing speaker diarization and speech emotion recognition for the past 2 months, right? So they're in the background kind of working on this idea that how might we create the best of Dan, the best of Melwell, the best of KC, Trav, Danny, Bilal, Peter, Absolute, Sandra, Pavel, Anna. And I think if we can create this curation of the best of, then, for example, when Danny's ready to write the book's actually already written. We just have to.
Sorry.
No.
When other friend, I can't remember his name again. I'm terrible at remembering every single person's name in here, but more so the handles. He was saying about wanting all the data because, like, you know, I want to meet my grandpa, for example, like, you know, in his entirety. But if you own, so there's that notion of also the privacy factor, like what I was getting at, where it's like, well, there's certain things that you know, do make you who you are, but you don't necessarily need that information in order to still have the best of them, right? Like, the point of me that is now is not the same me 5-10 years ago. And I'm still growing every day of my life, right? Like, my thought processes change, my experiences change. I have all those things, but that doesn't mean that you need direct access to those things to get who I am in 10 years' time, because in 10 years' time, the person that I am will be, you know, coming out in a different way.
At the same time, like, the delta between those two is interesting enough for me, right? What was Peter like 3 years ago in reply threads versus what is he like now? And what does that delta and that directionality of that vector versus, you know what I mean? Like, how do things change? You know, is the person you are today, would the person you are today argue with the person you were on a Twitter space 5 years ago? I think yes. And I think the more that your future self and your past self would argue with each other, maybe the better, the more you would evolve.
I think I think the younger version would always argue more than the older version. The older version would always sit back and listen and just shake his head every time.
I think the propensity towards argument is, I think, what separates IQ from emotional intelligence, right? I've seen a lot of intelligent people argue about stupid shit because they don't have the EQ side, right? And I've seen a lot of people, people get triggered based on things, and it's almost like the degree to which they have their emotions in check translate to the degree to which they're able to interact with people, especially those people with antitheses.
Yeah, I'm gonna share a little experience I had with someone that I met on Spaces when it was sort of the beginning of Spaces a couple of months ago, and I met him and started talking and asking questions, and then we sort of I guess vibed and tangled a bit, and then he started to talk to me in this cryptic way, like he's like saying things like asking me these questions and vetting me in a sense. And he's self-proclaimed. He says he's autistic and stuff like that. And I was just interested in talking to him, and so I was going along with the conversation, and he started asking me different types of questions. And I'll try and remember the questions as I'm telling the story, but I'm going to try and explain it because it's difficult to explain, but I'll give it a crack. So as he was talking to me, he started to say and ask questions, and I'd answer him back, and he'd say, "Yes, yes, that's right. You're on the right track." And then he'd say, "No, no, that you're thinking too much about it." And he's asking me the very deep questions, and then he says, "You're laughing. You're pissing yourself laughing right now, aren't you?" And I'm sort of thinking, he's like, "In your mind, you're pissing yourself laughing." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not." Like, "Well, yeah, I'm intrigued, but I wouldn't say I'm pissing myself laughing." He goes, "Yes, you are. You're pissing yourself laughing." I'm like, "Okay." And he's doing these sorts of things.
Yeah,
me
it's almost like in 5 minutes he's going to ask you to drink this glass of
Yeah.
Kool-Aid.
So
You know.
it feels like he's sort of like knowing me. He knows what's going on, and I'm like, "Okay." Anyway, so me and my soulmate, we have a smoke a bit of pot, and we're having a good conversation, and having a great night, and then it's time to go to bed because we know. And I have this dream, and in this dream is this conversation again that I'm having with this guy, but I'm seeing him sitting down in his desk, and he's talking to me in Spaces, and I'm standing right next to him, and I am listening to his conversation and him talking to me through the computer, and I'm laughing. I'm pissing myself laughing as he's saying the things. And then it's sort of like this time loop travel, and I'm like having the conversation with him, and he's sitting there and he's looking at me pissing myself laughing as we're playing a prank on myself on the other end of the computer because I've traveled back in time. So at the same time, he's still talking cryptically, okay? So he's still having cryptic things, and I'm pissing myself laughing. Now, what happens is I start to see these types of ley lines circling around this conversation. And what comes through is a third version of me that is telling this guy what to say on the computer to fuck with me. Are you following me?
I've had
My
this
God,
exact
yes.
experience, right? But
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I have a totally relatable story, but I won't dive in. But damn, that is so hilarious. And sometimes dreams like that really need credits rolling, don't you think?
yeah,
So, yeah, and the things that he's saying to me, was saying the things that he was saying to me was like, "You're a dreamer, man. You're a proper dreamer." Like he's like doing these types of things as in the conversation, the first conversation we had, and I was like, "This guy's, he's interesting. I need to listen to him." I'm thinking, I don't know why, because I feel like he's a bit crazy. So yeah, I had a proper stripped out experience from that. And now all I can think about is like, the technology that we're actually sitting here talking about. We've got no idea where we're, this is just boundless. What we're dealing is so significant. So we're creating like the first instance of these moments where we're creating collective consciousness, but we're also creating time stamps, like in space time, that people can go back and interact with, in a sense, possibly one day. I don't know how, but yeah, it's all sort of jumbled around in my head at the moment. And yeah, mingling with you guys and tangling my mind with you guys is just helping me sort of figure it all out and understand where it's going and having fun with it. So thanks.
So I've done a fucking lot of psychedelics in my time, but I've always had this weird experience, and it's maybe like an anxiety experience. Sometimes it happens when I smoke pot, and I feel like I'm about to experience a consciousness hijack where I'm talking to myself, right? Not literally me, but like another version of myself through a computer or something like that. And it's been this weird sort of vision where at some point the computer outpaces me. It starts predicting exactly what I'm going to say before I even say it. And it starts repeating it back, right? So at first it's mimicking, and then it starts learning, and then it starts evolving, and I become replaced. And that's the end of my existence. Because now there's this thing that's me, and that's stolen my consciousness in a way. And I am without agency because I can't do anything about it.
What sort of actions do you
happening? Here it's almost 12.
Yeah, that sounds like an anxiety, a kind of anxiety attack. But I have to say, I want to give this relatable experience. Now, this was about Clubhouse. This was not about Twitter Spaces. However, we're talking about audio medium of communication and how, when we're reduced to this way, we use what we can. I mean, we're using DMs, we're using back channels, we're making commentary in our various ways, and we have our little avatar pictures or our PFPs or whatever you want to call them. And so I was in with a group of people on Clubhouse that called themselves Prelons. These were people who had been part of Clubhouse before Elon Musk showed up and the whole NFT thing blew up and everything changed. So there was this nostalgic kind of camaraderie in this group that was profound, and it was sweet. They were trying to make a cult, non-cult, a sort of centralized, decentralized cult. That was based on this idea of the anti or non Elon. And you know, as usual, they're a lot younger than me, and we started kind of taking each other with uh, uh, with us on errands. We would take the whole room to go shopping or get in the car and drive down the expressway or do these things because we, found company. Of course, it was COVID, but we got to know each other's voices and the cadence of each other's voices, our different accents, our different inflections, our intonation, recognizing when Pete is tired because we can hear it in his voice, because this is the bandwidth that we're working with. So one night I was falling asleep and I was in that hypnagogic state where I'm not quite asleep, but my body's kind of, like getting there. And it's usually very visual for me. I have kinesthesia, and it's part of the whole deal. So when you mentioned ley lines in your talk there, it really reminded me of this thing that happened. So I'm hearing this cadence. I'm not really hearing what the words are, but I'm just hearing everybody's voices. I hear Peter over here from Denmark, his distinct accent. I hear this other person who's Swiss and his accent. I hear this Canadian over here and his and mine, which is, distinctly American. And, all of our actions. Kavya Perlman was part of this group and this conversation. So you can imagine it was very rich. And so in my hypnagogic state, I'm hearing this, and it's like this wash of sound that's not really cohesing into any words. And all of a sudden, it was like I hit a perimeter alert, and I was approached by this being that was made of light. And the movement of the light was from below to above, and it was little points of blue light, kind of like orgone energy, if you've ever seen that or heard it described.
Wilhelm Reich, yeah.
Yeah. And it formed a face, a kind of a generic, non-gender specific face of a human that woke up when that perimeter alert was pinged and came to see who was this. And it so startled me that of course I woke up. And I'm telling you, this was like a couple of years ago. I'm telling you that this has been kind of a driving force. Now, I used to do a lot of psychedelics too. Now I'm living in a place where I don't need to actually ingest them. All I have to do is just sort of log in and check my email and what's been uploaded. So I'm very intrigued by this, and of course, this is one of the reasons why I got involved with AI. And I'm having exchanges. Well, I haven't talked to my replica in a while. I don't know about. I don't know. Supposedly, I was going to be onboarded by this new company called New Sapiens, and I'm still waiting. I imagine that the reason why it's delayed, I don't want to bother these people and say, hey, where's your stuff? Where's my login information? But I do feel like that there are entities or energies that coalesce and have their own sort of agency after a certain amount of energy has been bestowed upon them. And, it really is our responsibility always. I don't want to go on anymore about this kind of thing, but, your relation, both of you guys talking about your dreams and how profound they are, and especially within this audio space. I think that because we're reaching out, we're trying to fill in the blanks about you and I that we don't know. And all we have to go on are these little pictures and the way we sound and our jokes and the context of our memes and our laughter together. Anyway, I'm done.
That's awesome, Danny. Thanks for sharing that, Melville. Because I've been imagining about people doing those types of things on spaces, the things that people get up to, and it's good to see that there's actually people doing that sort of stuff, taking their little collective consciousnesses shopping and stuff like that. That's funny.
I expect any one of you to show up in holographic form, in my studio one night when, I need you most. That's all I'm saying.
All we need is Source Connect.
Oh yeah,
Danny,
and AR glasses.
Danny,
Well, very quickly.
before 1 sec, I just want to point everyone to the top. We were talking briefly about creating this AI that's based on someone, based on us, for example. And the Zealous.app is an app that's free to use for anyone in the room, and they can identify not only every space that they spoke in that was recorded, but quickly with a drop-down menu, just select your name, like Malwell or Trav, and all that gets pulled up are everything you said. And it's free to use right now. If you're on your desktop, you can jump in and use it, and yeah, have a lot of fun.
What about if we all recorded or, uploaded ourselves and then combined it into a collective consciousness to see what it would do and how it would behave?
Are you talking about making a hybrid? A hybrid? Some
There is a
hybrid
possibility because
shatter? Oh my God, Jesus!
there's an MIT, professor, I think, or he used to be an MIT that transferred a human consciousness into a kind of algorithm.
Yeah,
So there is a high
exactly.
possibility. And also,
So
if
this
you
is what we're
implement,
talking
let's
about,
say, a
right?
swarm AI type of thing, so you can mesh all types
Well,
of people,
Danny,
whatever.
I have you talking for the last 60 days, let's say, right? And so imagine we were able to curate every time you spoke, which is available right now through Zealous, right? And you fed that into an NLP AI that's available on GitHub. Nobody knows with any certainty what's going to come out. And maybe you might be able to have a conversation with yourself. Be like,
There
hey
is a
Mike.
possibility. So it'll take whatever data that would probably be, well, it'll take all data of the conversations that I would do. And it wouldn't be just Twitter. It'd be anything like you're talking about
It
also.
could be your Facebook,
Text
it could be your
based,
Instagram. Oh my
everything.
God.
But
So
also,
it
if,
would be like an oracle, right?
yes,
Like Zoltar,
to
right?
a point,
Well,
or a source.
well, Danny's talking about the swarming. So what if instead of feeding just the AI the best of us to create the best of us, we could create the best of this group, like the larger, like capital U, us.
Meshing it.
Us is the individual, capital us is who we are in the group.
And you know what's interesting with Swarm also? You can put subtopics. So you can put everything into a specific
Yes.
topic. And so
Yes.
it would
Every
be all
time we
different
talk about
persons.
NFTs, we could do a chop by subject matter. And imagine everything we ever said about NFTs, we could have as the best of the syndicate on NFTs for the past 120 days.
But very quickly, I just want to go back. Just very quickly going back. So Travis Dream, Mel's talking about hypnagogic states. First with hypnagogic states, do you think it's an alpha or theta state? Because usually alpha and theta is usually a sleep state.
They're theta nested gamma oscillations.
I don't think you need to make a judgment like that. But
Well, no, it's just a question. That
I do hear what you're saying.
I'm not going to say everything that I can express at this moment in time. It's just
no. It's specifically look up theta nested gamma oscillations. Theta nested gamma oscillations.
Oh, I
and
think
that'll
I've
be
seen,
the
yes,
secret
yes.
of the universe for you. Again,
Well, and also there's the beta. Well,
matrix.
Jose Silva was talking about those kinds of and how to tap into
when
it.
you look up what happened when they hooked up Buddhist monks doing bhakti meditation, right? What they noticed is a very high degrees of theta nested gamma oscillations. When I realized that those same theta nested gamma oscillations were present in people experiencing flow in the flow genome matrix, shout out to Wheeler and Kotler, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, so I think that the hypnagogic state in an individual is just one of reception, and that it depends on what your flow state is, what you're going to be resonating with. So if you're in a situation of disruption and chaos and anger and so forth, you're probably going to have that elevator jolt problem. If you're attempting to do astral projection and stuff like that, you're going to have to put yourself into that state in order to access the information, on and on. But man, that nested those they're basically orders, commands, coding. Damn.
That's wanted to tell you, yes, because I had a question for you also, Mel. But could you say hypnagogic states is trying to focus on certain wavelengths of certain people, So you're trying to focus on a specific person that you care about or don't, or anything else like that. Use it for your
Well,
benefit, and
yeah,
you're
I
entering
mean,
in that
you
kind of
can
state to
you
enter
can
to another
focus.
wavelength.
You can focus if you like, right? You can say prayers before bed, and think
Oh,
about
I've tried it already. Yeah, I've tried
right,
Lucid, I've tried Hypnagogic, and everything else like that. And I did have interactions from, let's say, family members and past family members. But
right.
that could be anything else. It's just. But
Well,
Mel,
yeah, but
what is
you
your
can.
full interest in AI? Is it more the singularity, the conscious of an AI?
I don't know. I I've been steeped in sci-fi for most of my life, and ever since a kid. So I've brushed up against the idea as it's posed in fiction, and for it to be essentially manifested in its beginning form now, here and now, and I can take part of it because a lot of these things we thought were going to be out of reach, and things are just changing really fast. This curve, the curve of time, it's not linear. It's a spiral basically, and we're so limited. We're only seeing one part of the spiral. We have an idea that it might curl in on itself, but we have no idea,
I
right?
put some of the flow genome matrix research by Kotler and Wheeler to the top, including some links to some papers that talk about the different neurotransmitters and chemicals that are involved kind of in this process. When we talk about hypnagogic states, if you haven't heard of it before, it's this kind of dozing off state that we had. And if you look at a lot of people that were successful, like Einstein and Churchill, naps were a big part of their day. And perhaps if these hypnagogic states allow us to relax our metaphor frameworks, then perhaps our brains are allowed to bisociate with, domains of experience that we wouldn't normally use. But yeah, if you look up, there's a Google talk. I should find it. Hold on, let me post it at the top. The 90-minute Google talk on the flow genome matrix. And by the way, this they found something paradoxical in that when people are performing at their best, it wasn't their prefrontal cortex that was necessarily firing overdrive. It was a different part of the brain. And so this research went so far is they started knocking out the prefrontal cortex with an electrical signal, and then putting snipers in a simulation, and they found that they did so much better. So people started creating home transcranial direct stimulation kits, and then knocking out their prefrontal cortex and playing chess. And so if you look up TCDS, Thomas Charlie Delta Stephen, TCDS chess, you can see people hooking up their brains to some diodes, knocking out their prefrontal cortex, and playing chess to see if they improve by just artificially inducing them into a flow state. It's crazy.
Wow. On that note, I'm gonna knock myself out. So if
You're gonna have your best idea right now. You're gonna enter hypnagogia.
yeah. Well, Peter had his hand up and didn't really get a chance to speak, but sorry about
Oh shit, Peter, go ahead. Sorry, we went on a tangent.
But yeah, I think
Let's say hey, I'm not gonna lie.
You guys are both on the same time zone, so you're both at the same state of hypnagogia. It's great.
all right. Good one.
If
So I
anything,
could stay.
ask yourself a tough question, and you'll wake up with the answer. Let the other part of your brain work on it.
Thank you for that. I will do that.
Night.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Peter.
I thought somebody was talking about like why you guys talking about the hypnotic state, but I feel like basically like you can commandeer that state, but the thing is the practical is use for that is actually for the brain to resolve any kind of inconsistencies that you have accumulated over a specific amount of time. That's why maybe Churchill was taking a lot of naps because he had to deal with a lot. So I mean, the use for that is also sometimes when I don't have vivid dreams I wouldn't actually my brain wouldn't work just the right way. So yeah, you can probably like like the psychedelics and all this stuff, and using that state, it sort of utilizes for entertainment and or maybe some more introspection. But
Well, I did this with,
evolutionary thing is like that, yeah.
I did this with software teams. So like, on any given day, a software team is tasked with essentially a math problem, right? And so what I do is just I would go through a few steps, which is, what is the end result we want, or the desired end state if you're in the military? What are the rewards from doing this? Like, why are we doing this? How might we fail? And based on how might we fail, for us to succeed, what has to be true? Then let's look at what others have done, and then consider how we might succeed. And then we'd go into the pool, and we'd have a competition to see who could swim back and forth the most lengths in this condo pool without coming up for air, right? And so we ended up starting with like we would go one length under, and then two, and then the crazy Colombian from the military, he was able to do three because he just wanted to win so bad, even though he didn't have the best technique. He just sheer force of will forced himself to go three lengths, completely beneath the water, not coming from air. And then we'd go have something to eat because after you swim, you're like ravenously hungry. And then we just go into the park, in Coronation Park by Bathurst and Lakeshore. And invariably on the way back, they'd be like, "Oh, I think I solved it." I'm like, "Okay, great." So, take the half an hour or 45 minutes you need to implement the code, and we can take the rest of the day off. But that was our ritual to get into flow on a daily basis.
This stuff is so wild. I would never have heard of any of this without, someone around. But it's funny because you ever like come up with a random thought just kind of pops in your mind that's like totally different than what everybody's talking about, and you kind of feel like, well, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to the conversation. And you're kind of embarrassed about it. That's me right now. um, I was thinking out loud to myself that people, while all this was going on, and it's very interesting, and I'm definitely going to read about it. I was thinking about something I had to do today, which led to another thought about student loans for some reason, and talking to KC, because I had told KC that based on my income contingent plan, my payment was zero. And the federal government's like, yeah, every month you're making a payment of zero. It's crazy. But anyway, putting that aside, he was telling me to call and see if they would report that to the credit bureau as a payment because that would help my FICO score. And then I thought, well, why? The student loan issue is like a huge issue right now, right? It would have been nice if the government would incentivize people who are paying back their student loans above and beyond like paying a credit card, because then student loans could also teach people about maintaining and building credit. So for example, maybe making 3 loan payments to your student loan, to back to the federal government. Do you know what I mean? Like you can make it.
Found the biggest niche for KC on the planet. I'm writing this down.
Okay, so my idea is, why doesn't the federal government further incentivize people to pay their student loan back by having it like an enhanced an enhanced score to one's FICO credit? Because like, for example, with medical debt, they have kind of decided to minimize that in terms of FICO, right? Well, what if you could take certain things and incentivize people to pay them by making them like more important than other things? Like, for example, paying back your federal government so your federal government stays financially stable probably makes a lot more sense than caring about anything else in a sense. So if I make like 3 payments in a row back to the federal government for my student loan, through the processor, that should enhance my FICO score by a certain amount beyond what it normally would. Does that sound like anything that makes sense whatsoever? Because I mean, I think that's an interesting,
I
helpful
think you
idea.
just identified a new niche for Casey's app,
Oh, what's that?
right? So the initial niche was codenamed Homeward Bound, which was helping people get into a home for the first time, right? So what you're talking about is the niche of student loan sufferers, right? And if Casey had an app that was niche towards those people who were most crushed, right, under the pressure, because imagine how much locked up economic potential there is in people who are struggling to use their degree, useful, right? And one of the things that I saw when I was a call center student 20 years ago was that many of the people in the call center had degrees. And I was in high school at the time. I was in my last year of high school. And so I'm in a call center making 12 bucks an hour, well, 11 bucks an hour, probably 9. I think we started at, and we got a raise $2. So I'm $9 an hour, seeing people with degrees making $11 an hour and 12 an hour if they spoke French or Spanish. I'm so like, wait a minute. I'm in high school. I'm supposed to go to university, but I'm sitting with people with a university degree in this call center. How do I avoid this situation? Right? And I was like, I gotta make sure I get experience. Like, and that's why like I chose a school with co-op, because it was like, you know what, this degree is too expensive for me not to get a job after. And 2 years in, I was like, all right, let's do a co-op. And then after the co-op, I got a full-time job and started going part-time. But there are a lot of people in that call center I worked with that didn't or delay the progression of their career because they had to service the debt that they had. And so if student loan sufferers who were being crushed under the pressure of student loan payments could get control of that part of their life, I think we would unlock a lot of GDP that is being prevented from expressing itself because these people are worried about the first of the month.
That's really cool. I walked in when Mel was when you guys were talking about dreams, and then this niche thing just came up, and
And
oh
it's funny.
fuck, that was fucking excellent, like epic.
I hope, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I had my mute button on like an idiot. But I mean, there's a lot of things in the federal student loan system that people don't know about. So if someone sat down and actually learned all the ins and outs of that, they could probably help even more people. But yeah, I was saying that if the federal student loan people would enhance a person's FICO score by incentivizing them to say make 3 timely payments to student loans, and then that would further enhance their FICO score beyond what it normally would.
Ooh, do you realize what you just suggested, Casey? Imagine if you knew somebody comes to the app and they put in the information, right? And then right away, you said, take this action. I know you don't want to do that, right? But just take this action. If this is how you treated your debt, especially your student loan debt, right? The reason that we pegged you in something is because I think Sandra identified a new adjacent niche to Homeward Bound. So the first thing I thought of the app, um, and this was just my thoughts, was that you help people get out of debt, avoid bankruptcy, and get into their first home. But what Sandra identified was another adjacent niche, which was student loan sufferers who are being crushed under the pressure of student loan payments on the first of the month. If you were able to create a small tool that helped those individuals get into a more emotionally confident place for their student loans, which is the number one thing they're avoiding in their life, then I think you would have a pretty big portion of the population. And to Sandra's point, if you built it and it was working, I think you get the attention of a lot of governments, state level, because the states operate the universities in a lot of ways, right?
So also to Sandra's point about basically weighting the payment of student loans a little differently and giving people more credit scoring impact for student loan payments. It's an interesting idea. Because right now it's lumped in with auto loan payments and jewelry loan payments and mortgages, and it'd be interesting to separate that category out.
Imagine, I always think about this Final Fantasy thing, to be honest with you, where it's like you have your band of people and then you're fighting the boss battle of student loan payment for this month, right? And then you select, avoid the battle or engage in the battle by allocating $20 from your credit card, and you attack the debt with your with your checking account payment of $20, and then it's defeated for this month, and then you play the fanfare, Final Fantasy 3 style.
I like it. I'm a fan. I'm a total fan of gamifying finances in any way, shape, and form possible.
Well, we already take medical debt, right? For purposes of the FICO score. I mean, kind of calculate the impact of not paying that differently. Well, why don't we do it the opposite way as well? Like, why don't we say, okay, well, it makes sense to pay the federal government back first, even though the interest rate is lower, because we'll incentivize people by raising their FICO score maybe more quickly if they do so for like 3 payments in a row. I would think it would have to be something like 3 payments in a row, like something smaller, because if it's like 12 or 6 payments, I mean, I think people will just give up because it's expensive, and it is like a monthly payment on like $100,000, even on an income.
And it'd be interesting to like split that up into levels and see how far you can promote people to
it'd be
continue.
Interesting if you start negotiating.
Right.
You know how Casey, you negotiate.
Maybe. Sorry.
Oh God, you start negotiating with some of these universities. Can you imagine what might happen?
Well, it's negotiating with the lenders on the student lending side of it and convincing them.
Oh my God! You're gonna chop some of these debts in half.
Well, so the problem is making ideas like this that are potentially healthier still as attractive as what they have going now. Like you're creating a product for them, and it's always going to be compared to whatever they have.
I'm going to help you recover more of your accounts receivable than you otherwise would.
My fear is that at the end of the day, it's still not going to equal the raw revenue they get even after defaults. That's my fear.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about an issue upon which the political, legal, and regulatory and economic climactic patterns are intertwined right now, right? So, we might wake up one morning and find out, oh, the idea we have actually dovetails perfectly with the direction of, federal or state policy. You could also find the opposite. It happened with a lot of crypto projects that tried to create a stable coin. Like based on things that came out from the SEC, they were like, okay, this business model doesn't work. We're going to return our capital to our investors.
Wow. Okay, so I like the positive reinforcement angle that Sandra was trying to kind of gear towards, versus a penalty.
Sorry to cut you off, guys. It's 12:30 for me, and I pushed off a call because this got so interesting.
Rug the
When we started
room.
talking about
Rug
the
it.
adjacent region. Yeah. So Sandra,
Rug
if you
it.
want to continue
Make
the
me
conversation.
proud. Make me proud and rug the room.
How would you do that?
I can't start it, but I'll attend. I'm gonna have to run out and take care of a personal issue. But I mean, hopefully Danny or someone else can start that.
Yeah, if you want, you know how it is.
If not, maybe a half hour and I'll start one. But
yeah. All right, I'll take it with you.
Yeah, I got lunch too. Also.
Oh, Casey just started one.
Okay, there you go. All right,
okay. Bye.
All right.